one, we're going to talk about filing federal and state taxes. Okay. So we kind of started talking about that with the W-2s yesterday. So both federal and Georgia state income taxes are based on a progressive system. Okay. A progressive tax involves a tax rate that increases or progresses as the taxable income increases. So you make more, you're taxed more. Okay. First bracket is taxed at a certain rate, so no matter what your total income is, and the next bracket at the next rate, and so on. Okay, cool. All right, so tax brackets can be represented as a piecewise function. Do we remember what piecewise function means? You remember what piecewise function means? Do you remember what they look like? You learned them in like algebra 2. No? Okay. So normally they look like straight lines or like segmented lines of some sort. Most of the time they have like a dot or an open circle somewhere. Yes, maybe coming back. No. Okay, blank stares. Okay, got it. All right, so looking at this little bracket, here is your tax bracket. Okay, so if you make between $0 to $10,000, you're taxed at 10%. Okay, bless you. If you make between 10,000 and 41,000, you're taxed at 12%. But they take into account that everybody is taxed at that 10%. So there's a little bit of a difference, which I'll show you that in just a second. Okay. So we're going to write or create a piecewise function. Okay. So on here, what is the domain? Well, the domain is going to be your amount of money. How much money can you make? So your taxable income. How much money can you make? Can you make $0? Yeah, you cannot work. How much can you make? It can continue on, right? You can make millions of dollars. We're going to increase all the way up to infinity. So this is your X. Remember, domain is your X values. We okay? Now your range in this instance for our piecewise is going to be the tax rates. Okay, and we're going to do that down at the bottom. Okay, so those numbers are going to include 10, 12, 22, 24, etc. So 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37 plus. So that's your Y, that's your range. So based on the amount that you make, you're taxed at a certain percent. Make sense? Okay. Okay, so we're going to use Desmos to kind of help us out with this. Okay, so make sure that you have graphing Desmos calculator out. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to type all of these tax rates down on separate lines. Okay, so gonna look like this. You're going to say 10, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37. Okay, now they tell us that in order to fall into this specific tax rate, you have to be between these two numbers, right? Okay, so instead of putting these into thousands, we're gonna make these into like in thousands. So from instead of doing 0 to 10,000, we're gonna say 0 to 10.275. Does that make sense? From the next one, we're gonna do 10.276 to 41.775. Does that make sense? So instead of doing them in thousands, we're going to do them in smaller increments so that we can actually see the piecewise function. So we're going to go back in here. And for this 10, we're going to make a little swirly bracket. So you're going to hit shift and then hit like the little bracket symbol, and it'll be like a little fancy bracket. 0. And then you're going to use the inequality symbol with the line underneath. X. Again, another inequality. 10.75. Squirrely bracket. Now notice when you do that, it makes a line straight across. Good. Okay. We're going to come down to the 12%. Do a little squirrely bracket. We're going to say from 10.76 to 41.775. And again, if you zoom out, notice how it creates a line. Yep. Because we have to go up $1. Yeah. So it's everything up until 275. Okay. So we're going to do that for the rest of these. So we're going to fill those in. Okay. And if you use the wrong brackets, it won't do it. So make sure you use the right brackets. Pause this. Okay. So once you've typed all of those in, you can kind of see how there's like little segments as you're going up. So as you increase in that tax or increase in the income, you're going to increase in your taxes. I mean, that makes sense, right? Make more, they want more of a cut, right? Are we okay on that? Does that make sense? Are we okay on the inequality symbols? So for instance, if I say something like this, 0 is less than or equal to X, what am I saying here? Like what number would make this true? So 0 is less than or equal to X. What could X be? Okay, so more than 0, right? Okay, so 0, how we read this is 0 is less than X. Okay. Another way we can say this is X is greater than 0. X is greater than 0. Now with this line underneath here, that means equal to as well. Greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so if you struggle with that, remember alligator eats the bigger number. Okay, throw back to 6th grade. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this down at the bottom with your graph. So go ahead and take a moment. You're coming down here and you're graphing this. Okay, so, and it's okay if it's a little rough. Down here at the bottom is your income. Remember, it's in thousands. And this is your tax rate. So at 10%, we are from 0 to 10,000. Okay. On the next one, we're at 12%. And we're going from 10 to 40. Okay. And the next one, we're at 22%. 22%. And we're from 41 to 89. Okay, then the next one, 89 to 170. Ooh, can't draw a straight line. Yeah. Okay. And then from 170 to 215, we're at 32%. And then from 215 to 539, we're at 35%. And then from there on, we're from 37%. Okay. After you draw your graph, I want you to take these that you did, put them back into thousands, and fill in your table for your domain. Okay, so you're taking this and filling in your domain table. Okay, for instance, we're going from 1076, let's try that again, 10,276 to 41,775. Does everybody see how you do that? Okay, fill this part in. Here we go. So we're going to write the functions for these. All right, looking back at this little table, from this number to this number, we get this function because it says 10% of taxable income. What's 10% changed to a decimal? 0.1. And if we take 0.1 and we multiply it by the income, that's how we can get how much we're going to pay in taxes. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we take 10% and we change it to a decimal, that's going to be 0.1. Then we take our taxable income and we multiply it by that 0.1. That's how we got our function. Okay. On the next one, if we go up to this tax bracket, we would have the equation of 1,027.50 plus the 12% of the amount over 10,075. I'm sorry, 10,275. So here's your equation. 0.12, that's 12%, times X, which is your taxable income, plus 1,027.5. Okay. X represents your income, right? But X really represents the amount over 10,275. Okay, so let's say that you make 41,775. Okay. What is the difference between 4,775 minus 10,275? What does that give me? Type it in your calculator. Say it again. Is that what everybody got? Okay. Now, you are going to take 12% of that. So you're going to multiply it by 0.12. And then you're going to add it to 1,027.5. All right, what did you get? So you're gonna have to use a calculator for this section. I got 4,687.5. Check me on that. Yeah? Is that what you got? Okay. That's how much you would spend if you made this much money. Does that make sense? Okay. On the next one, we're going to write the equation for 22%. So over here, it says 4,807.5 plus the 22% of the amount over 41,775. So what you're going to do here is you're going to say 0.22x plus 4,807.5. Let me make that cleaner. Okay, now on this one, when we plug in, we're going to say 0.22 times how much did we make? 89,075. We're going to subtract that 41,775, and we're going to add 4,807.5. Tell me what you get when you do that. So I got 15,213.5. Yes, no, maybe. Yes. Okay, when we get back, we're going to work a couple more problems like this. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write the equations for each one of these. So you're looking at this description over here. So that's how we got that 0.22 plus 4,807.50. For the next one, we're going to get 0.24 times x plus 15,213.50. Again, I'm not pulling these numbers out of nowhere. They're over here. Okay. For the next one, same thing. 0.32x plus 34647.50. The next one, 0.35x plus 335.50. And the last one, 0.37x plus 162,718. Okay, so are we okay on the equations? So I took the tax owed over here and wrote it out. So for the last one, it says 162,718 plus 37% of the taxable income. So 0.37x plus that first number. So everybody's okay on the functions. Now, when we plug in, I need you to go back and read these things over here. So really quick on here, if I were to make $170,000, $170,050, which tax bracket am I going to be in? This one, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug it into the equation, but I've got to keep in mind that I'm going to subtract a number as well. So for instance, I'm going to be in this tax bracket. So I'm going to do 15,213.50 plus 0.24 of, and I'm going to take the amount that I made and I'm going to subtract this number. The reason why I'm subtracting this number is because it's the amount over 89,000. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 89,000 75. Okay, so I'm going to type that into my calculator. Tell me what you get. Minus 89,075 times 0.24 plus 15,213.50. Okay, so I got 34,647.5. Is that what you got? What did you get? So if we go into here and we type 15,213.50 plus 0.24 times 170,050, minus 89075. I got 3,467, 34,647.5. So be careful of how you type it in. If you use a phone calculator, you have to do the subtraction first, then the multiplication, then the addition. You got to follow PEMDAS. If you just type it into Desmos, it'll give you just one answer. We okay? Yes, no. Eh. Okay, try the next one. Okay, so we're in the next tax bracket. So in the next tax bracket, you're going to subtract this amount. All right, so on here, if you plug into the equation, so I'm going to erase this. All right, so in the equation, we're going to do 0.32 times 215,950 minus the amount 170,050. Okay, plus 34647. What is that going to give you? Okay. 64750. Sorry, I left that off. Beep, beep, beep. And boom. So I'm going to go into Desmos. I'm going to type it in. 0.32 215,950 minus 170,50 plus 34647.5. And I got 49,335.5. Yep. Can you bring me what you did? 49,335.5. Can you try the next one? Yeah, something else. I got 16,000. Let me try it again. 162,718. Is that what you got? 162,718. Yeah. Questions? Okay. The last one they didn't give us a number for, so we can't plug anything in, right? So that's it. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. I want you to try the next page. Go ahead and flip the next page. And I want you to try those three problems up at the top. Okay, so it asks about Felix. Yeah. Okay, try those three problems because that's what's going to be on your quiz tomorrow. Yes, I will give you the tax bracket. You don't have to like memorize that. Okay. All right, so go ahead and take a moment, try those three problems. Okay, so this is how those equations should be set up. And if you plug these numbers in, what'd you get? So for number one, when you type this into your calculator, what do you get? $1,000? Look at it again. $1,900. Oh, okay. I thought I heard something else. 1,954.5. Okay. Make sure that you do two decimal places. Don't leave off that zero at the end. Okay. On the next one, when you plug it in, you should get 307.50. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. 4,857. I'm doing it on my phone calculator. So check me. And then that last one, I got 16,635.50. Is right? Okay. We understand what's going on here. Yes. Okay. You just use the tax bracket to kind of help you out. Okay. And yes, you'll be given one on the quiz tomorrow. There are questions like this. Okay, cool. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next problem. So this is a piecewise function, and it's talking about utility bills. So a city water company charges homeowners based on how much water they use in thousands of gallons. Okay, the company progressively charges at a higher rate the more water that is used. This is actually what happens. Like if you use no water to like 10 gallons, it's the same base rate, and then it goes up from there. Fun fact. So let's zoom out this a little bit. All right, so based on the graph, how much does the city charge when a homeowner uses the following numbers of gallons of water? Now remember, this graph is in thousands. Okay, so this is a little tricky. This is in thousands. Okay, so if I say 1,700 gallons, that's the same thing as saying 1.7 thousandths of a gallon. Does that make sense? So on this table or on this graph, if I say 1,700 gallons, I'm actually going to go to 1.7. And how much money does it cost me? 50. Okay. For 2,000 gallons of water, that would be converted to 2, right? At 2, the dark circle is where that point actually hits. Okay. So that's how much? $60. The open circle does not count. That's not included. It's up to, but not including 2,000 gallons. Are we okay? Yes. So 1.7 is right here. And we go up to the line, and that's $50. Okay. Can you try 7,000? Convert it, divide it by 1,000. Okay. And then look at your table or look at your graph. That should be 90 bucks. Everybody see it? Okay, so we did 7,000 divided by 1,000. We got 7. That's 90 bucks when we look at the graph. Okay, cool. Go ahead and flip the page. We're going to skip that thing at the bottom. This is the part where we're going to need some Desmos. Okay, so skip and go to this one. We're going to graph this piecewise function. Okay, we're actually going to type it in almost identical to what we see right here. So go ahead and open Desmos. Help me help you. Okay, so open Desmos. If you have anything in there, go ahead and clear it all out. Lord. Okay, so you're going to type 3 and then do like one of the little squirrely brackets. X is less than -2. Notice how it pops up automatically, right? All right, on the next one, you're going to type -2x minus 1, little squirrely bracket, -2, and you're going to put an underline on the next one. Okay, x is less than or equal to 2, and then close the squirrely bracket. If you don't know how to do these inequalities, you can come down here to the keyboard and you can just hit them here. Okay. Otherwise, if you know how to type it in the other way, that's okay too. Okay. And then the last one, x plus 1, squirrely bracket, x is greater than 2. Excuse me. Sorry. Thanks. All right, so you're going to graph this onto your paper. Okay, so Desmos has already graphed it for us, but we're just going to copy it onto our paper. So we go into our graph, and we're going to go 3 is just a horizontal line from x is -2 all the way to the left. So we're going to have an open circle and then just draw a straight line this way. I can't draw a straight line on this thing. Make sure you put an arrow at the end because that continues on to the left forever. Okay. Then you're going to graph the next part. This has a y-intercept of -1. It goes down 2 to the right one, down 2 to the right one, and that goes until 2. And then it goes to the left. Ooh. Up to the left one, up 2 to the left one. That goes until -2. Sorry, I missed that thought. Let me fix that. Okay, so that means that this line or this little like dot right here is now going to be shaded in because these just happen to have the same y value. Okay, we're going to draw a straight line. And remember, this one has a filled in dot too because it has a line underneath. Okay, on the last part, we're going to go from x is 2 over, and we're going to do at x is 1, we're going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So that's going to have an open circle. And we're going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So all we're doing is we're copying this graph onto here. Okay. Okay, so at the beginning of the week, Jessie had $500 in her bank account. She deposited a check for $50 on Monday, then paid $250 in the rent on Wednesday. And on Friday, Jessie deposited $200 in the account. Then on Saturday, she paid $100 for grocery from her bank account. Jessie made the following graph for the balance in her bank account during this week. Is the depiction of how the account balance varies over the week accurate? What do you think? Does it show the amount at the end of the day? So it shows the amount at the end of the day. But really quick, think about it this way. If you spend 50 bucks, does your account go 500 and then drop down to 450? Or does it go 500, drops to 450? You spend 50 bucks. You have 500 in your account. Does it go 500 and slowly drop to 450? Or when you take out that 50 bucks, does it immediately drop to 450? Immediately. So is this that gradual change going? No, that's not really accurate of what's going on. Okay. How can we change that? How can we show it better? We can actually use a piecewise function. All right, so let's talk through her week really quick. So Sunday, she had how much in her account? 500. Then Monday, what happened? She deposited a check. Ooh, there we go. For $50 on Monday. So did she gain money or lose money? Deposited is a good thing. We gain money, right? 550. Yeah, deposit always sounded like a bad thing whenever somebody said it back in the day. Okay, Tuesday, did anything happen? No, so we stayed at 550. What about Wednesday? What happened? Okay, so we went from 550 down to 50. So how much is that? Ooh, Calculators are a thing. 550 minus 250. What's that give me? There you go. Okay. Then she deposited $200 in her account on Friday, right? So she got more money on Friday. So how much did she go up? She went up 200. So what's 300 plus 200? 500. And then Saturday, she went and got groceries. She spent $100. So that's down to 400. Okay, so we see that. So I'm going to draw what that looks like on the graph. All right, ready? I would maybe use like a different color, or if you use like darker shading on this part. So from 0, this is Sunday, right? All the way to the next Sunday. So we were at 500 on Sunday to Monday. Then on Monday, we went up to 550 and we stayed there until Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, we dropped down to 300. Dropped down to 300. And we stayed there until about Friday. And on Friday, we went up to 500. And we did that for about a day. And then on Saturday, we dropped back down to 400. So the piecewise would be the pink. Do you think that's a more accurate depiction of what's going on? Because like she jumped amounts, right? It's not a continuous function. What you have seen for the past like however many years is a continuous function. Piecewise is a snapshot of what's going on. Okay, it's almost like a timeline. Good? We okay? Not too crazy? Let's make it worse. Okay, bump of the page. We're gonna skip over 11. Yay. So we're gonna talk about tax rates. So go ahead and go to completing a federal form 1040. Yeah, because we need that for tomorrow. Okay, so we're flipping to this page. All right, marginal tax rate versus effective tax rate. So there is a difference between marginal and effective. Okay, marginal tax rate is the tax bracket that you fall in based on income. An example would be if you had like 18,000 that you made, your marginal tax rate is 12%. Does that make sense? Marginal tax rate is the tax bracket that you fall in based on income. So an example is if you're at 18,000, you would be at 12%. That's from our little chart. You'd be at 12%, right? Okay. Now, effective tax rate is the tax rate that you actually pay. So for instance, when calculated, you actually pay, I think it was like 1,954.50 if you had an income of 18,000. And if you actually found the percentage on this one, you would say 19.50 divided by 8,000. That would actually be at a 10.9%. So you're not quite at 12%. Okay, so if I asked you for the effective tax rate, you would calculate the 1,954.50, and you would take it out of your total income, and that would be that percentage. So you're actually taxed at 10.9%. So it's almost like you are put into a group, like you're grouped at 12%, but you might be taxed a little less than that. You will be between 10 to 12%. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe.
The number on top, could you remind me what it is? I know you found this.
Yeah. So this is what we found on the previous page when we did 18,000 and we used the little table. So when we did like the 0.112 times 18,000 minus whatever that number is plus whatever number it is from the tax table. That's where we got this number. That's how much we're going to pay in taxes.
Oh, okay. I think I write that down.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, yesterday we talked about W-2s, right? Some reminders from your W-2s. It provides tax information from your employer related to your earnings, tax withholding benefits, and more. Your W-2 form should be sent out by January 31st, okay, of each year and be used to prepare your tax return. Okay, so your business sends you your W-2 and then you start filing. The IRS uses the W-2s to track employment income you've earned during the prior year. Okay. My question was always, why do I have to turn this in if they already have it on file? But that's besides the point. Kind of like putting your name on your paper for the IRS. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at 11 because I think this is important. Okay. So your friend Melinda wants you to help her file her taxes. Yay. Melinda is 18, lives with her parents, and she'll be heading to college in the fall. Melinda works around 10 hours per week during her senior year at the local ice cream shop and 40 hours a week during the summer. On the next page is her W-2 form. Okay, so take a moment, look over this W-2 form. Okay. I would look at her wages, all that jazz. All right, so we're going to use our W-2 to complete the worksheet portion of Melinda's 1040. So you fill out a 1040, lots of numbers with the IRS, when you do your taxes. Okay. All right. So you're going to fill in this information. Okay. The first thing we want to do is fill in the 1A portion. So total amount from the W-2, see box 1, the instruction. So we're going to go back here. What's in box 1? Say again.
And other.
Yeah. So that number that's right there, we're going to put it on this line where it says 1A. Okay, so we're going to write that in right there. So 14,020. Good so far. Okay, now, does she have household employee wages not reported on W-2 forms? Tip income not reported? She doesn't have that. We're going to go ahead and skip down to 1Z. And we're going to add lines 1A through 1H, which she didn't have anything else going on. She didn't have wages from an 8919. She didn't have any other earned income. Look back at her W-2. Was there anything else that she had? Okay, so we're going to come back down here and we're going to add up the totals that are right here. So that's just going to give me 14,020. Okay, so we added all these up. Okay, the next section is about tax exempt interest. Okay, qualified dividends, IRAs, any of that. Okay, did she have any of those? So looking at the next section, all of these descriptions from like 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, and 6B, do we have any of those things up here at the top? No. Okay, so we're not going to fill anything in there. Okay, look at line 11. Okay, line 11 says subtract line 10 from line 9. Okay, this is your adjusted gross income. So right now, she's just a kid. So she made 14,020. And then standard deduction or itemized deduction. So look back at her W-2. Were there any deductions that she had going on? What deductions did she have going on? So look at the description on the side next to 12. It tells you right there. Oh my gosh. Oh. Right here, standard deductions. Is she single or is she married? Single. So she gets a deduction of 12,950. Okay, so we're gonna put that on line 12. Okay, so let me erase this. We're gonna put that on line 12. So line 12, we're gonna do 12,950. Okay. And then we had 14,020. Okay. Now you're going to subtract lines 14 from 11. Okay, and this is going to be your taxable income. She's going to be placed at 1,070 because she's going to fall into that 12% realm. She's also not married, so that also puts her in a different location. Do you see how this tax break is a lot bigger? That married or filing jointly or qualifying surviving spouse, that's $25,900. So that's money that you get to keep. That means that you get a tax break from it. Right. Okay, so if we subtracted these two things, we get this number. Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna put a pause on this because I think I just hit you with overload. On the next page is where you start talking about tax and credit, and then we start talking about payments and refunds and the amount you actually owe at the end of all of this. So we're gonna put a pause on this, or come back to it tomorrow. Go ahead and jump back to this question, function C. So number 11. Because I think we need a little bit more practice on piecewise before tomorrow. Yep.
All that tax thing that we just saw, it's also gonna be on the code, right?
So the tax rates, so the marginal and effective tax rates, that's going to be tomorrow. as well as the stuff from your paycheck, like being able to read a paycheck. We're going to review before we take the test or the quiz tomorrow.
Oh, only my birthday and then the phone.
Yes.
Even this, because
Not the 1040. Not the 1040. Remember, 1040 is what we use in order to do our taxes. Okay. All right. So coming back to this one, function C represents the dollar cost of renting a bike from a bike sharing service for 15 minutes. Here are the rules describing the function. So we're going to complete the table for the cost given the length of the rental time. So if I rent it for 0 minutes, how much is it going to cost me? $2.50. Okay. And you are going to put a line underneath the inequality symbol for this one. It is going to cost us $2.50. Okay. And then if we rent it for 10 minutes, how much is that going to cost us? If we rent it for 10 minutes, so that falls between 0 and 30. So how much is that going to cost us? $2.50. What about 25? $2.50. If I rent it for 60 minutes, $5. Can you fill in the rest really quick? All right, so if I fill it in, this is what it looks like. And then if I draw a table or I draw a graph of it, from 0 to 30, we're at $2.50. From 30 to 60, we are at $5. And then from 60 to 90, we're at $7.50. 90 to 120, we're at 120 to 150 is $12.50. And then 150 to 72, we're at $15. All right, so describe in words the pricing rules for renting a bike from this bike sharing service. So as the time increases, price increases. So main is going to be from 0 to 720 because that's how much we can rent it for, right? Like the time. And then our range is going to be $2.50, $5, $10. Oh, $7.50. Flip that off. $7.50, $10, $12.50, $15, and that's it. Remember, that's the cost. Now, is C a function of T? Does the cost depend on how much time you use? Does the cost depend on how much time you use? Yes, because cost depends on time. Is T a function of C? So does the time depend on the cost? No. Okay.